Alrighty, so finally back on the Explorer rear bumper that I started like a year ago. Anyway, I didn't get it on film because I lost the video I made, but to make the side pieces fit, you have to trim off the body panels that sit back here. So I pretty much just measured from here to here, followed this distance all the way down, and then I cut it off on both sides. So that's what we have. I just used a grinder and trimmed it off. So then the next step on the bumper itself is the wing pieces that go on the side. So it just tack welds onto here. It's actually 6 pieces because there's the bottom, the 2 sides here at top, and then the end piece. And then these, you need to tack weld these nuts on before you move them in, put them on. But then this piece goes back into here, box it in. This is actually a support that will run back to the frame to tie into the frame to some mounts on the frame. So I'll show that next. So I'll get this tacked in there and then put the bumper back on the truck and then show the next pieces that tie into the frame. Alright, so I got the inner pieces tack welded in. Obviously the nuts are on the inside for when the next piece goes on once you set up on the vehicle. But make sure when you made these 2 pieces that you made the mirror images of each other so that the nuts are on the inside on each side, and it just slides inside of here till where it gets tight, because then it can get welded all the way around here. Nothing needs to be ground off to smooth it out. So now stick it on the truck. Alright, here's the bumper mounted on my Explorer. You can see it as it's mounted here. I've got all the bolts tightened up. So right now there's currently 4 bolts on each side holding it on. Go around and show you on the side view too. Alright, so here it is where it wraps around. You notice how it lines up with the rear fender well. And that's why there's about 3 inches on that inside that if it needs to be cut back, it can also be cut back and then just welded back, the end piece welded on for a bigger tire to fit on there. And then there's just enough flex still in the system that if you need to get your mount just right, this can be twisted down and straightened out and then tack welded in place on the back to hold it in place. But there's actually a support that goes in here. So I'll show you the pieces for that. So this piece goes on the frame. It bolts the 2 holes that are in the frame. Each side's a little bit different, but the same bracket fits on both sides. It's just a slightly different place. And that piece on the inside, what there is there's this 1/4 inch plate to weld the tube to that ends up welding between the 2. Then a spacer that you can just tap in, so you're not trying to fight a whole tube and get it all lined up in one shot. It gives you a chance to keep the tube on one side, then you can kind of squeeze this one in there, tap it in, and get it tight. So I'll get those mounted on the frame and on the bumper and then show you there. Alright, here you can see the 1 piece bolted to the frame right here. And then on the other side up here are the 2 other pieces. Right here, the 1/4 inch thick one on the outside, and then the 1/8 inch spacer, to make it a little easier to get it all together later, is right there. And then just a piece of tubing. This is 1 inch by 1/8 inch wall. And I just cut it on the ends. And this will get welded in here, like so, as a brace. Just gotta make sure you keep it far enough away from the bolts so that you can still get them in. So that'll get welded in and tacked in once you double check to make sure that the gap right here is all even. So I'll double check all that, start getting all that welded in and do both sides. Alrighty, so got these supports in on the wings here. So put a pretty good heavy tack on each end, help hold it and secure it. And then what I did was I came down here, put a little tack down on the very end to help brace it all. So now it's ready to pull the bumper off, and then we need to run a weld down both sides of this, and then there's a plate that goes on either side of that to help strengthen it. So that's next. Alright, so once you have the bumper off the truck, now you can come in, weld down both sides of this, the shackle recovery point. So you weld down both sides of those, make sure there's no little boogers or anything stuck on the sides of this, on either side. And then what you'll do is there's 4 of these total, 2 for each side. They need a little 45 ground down on each side so that, let me see if I can get that. so that they fit. And then what these do is go on either side of this, like so. So line those up, line them up through the center hole here so that your shackle will fit through, clamp it on, and then this gets all welded out through here, welded down here. And now the bumper is ready to be fully welded, ground, and painted. So I'll weld all this up, grind it all, paint it, and then show it to you on the truck. All right, so got the bumper mounted, painted, mounted back up. So these little holes right here, right in here, are just for pod lights, like so, to get mounted in to be hooked up as backup lights. I didn't put holes in here on the sides because depending on which light you use, they may be in a different spot. So obviously this one only happens to fit one direction. But anyway, that's designed to go in right there. And then these out here, these corners right here, are for a high lift to pick up the back of the truck. So drop it down, I'm gonna pick it up with the high lift. Alrighty, so there it is, picked up with a high lift. See, quite a gap underneath that tire. It's probably about 4 inches off the ground. So that's why there's kind of a gap across the top, because the body and the frame and the mounts all move separately of each other. So as you twist it, it's going to move around. So anyway, if you got any questions on this, let me know.